So, about a month ago, my computer almost did a kind of a conk out on me kind of deal. And what I mean by almost a conk out, long story short, I think I mentioned this in a live stream or vlog. But basically what happened is I went and watched a stop motion music video. And all of a sudden, all these, I don't know if I pressed a button wrong or something on the remote, but all these numbers started to show up on, well, I wouldn't say numbers, but all these settings started to show up on the screen next to the video. And at first I thought, okay, it's an interactive stop motion video. That wasn't the case because it wouldn't let me go back. So I basically turned off the TV, kind of like turned it off. I waited a few moments like I normally do, turned it back on, and it went into, I guess you could say it's reboot kind of phase, because what it does is it goes, Samsung QLED, at the beginning, and then the screen comes back on. And I don't know if maybe, because, it's a smart TV, so it's got, a GPU in it. It's got, internal storage and everything. So I don't know if maybe it got full. It got a lot of information, on it, and it got full. I don't know if that's what happened. Or if maybe it was doing a software update, because it's been about a year. I'm not really sure. But anyway, ever since then, when I turn on the TV, it now starts up on the Samsung TV Plus, portion of the TV, basically on the app. So I have to switch over to Comcast or Xfinity, connection, because I have my cable to it, connected to it, just to watch television regularly. Now I don't have nothing against Samsung TV Plus. Obviously, it's, owned or associated by those that run Pluto TV. So I have nothing against that. But the reason I want to bring this up is because one of the channels that stays on by default, I guess, is the anime channel, Anime All Day. And some of the shows that I've been noticing on there, they get an all-day marathon or a weekday marathon, are things like Bakugan, Beyblade, and Gaia King, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Zeeks or Zelks or whatever it is. I can't pronounce it. It's the Yu-Gi-Oh! Zelks or Zeeks or whatever it is. And I watched these, before I would switch over to Comcast. And I'm noticing some kind of very similar pattern. Now, I know some people might say, well, if you're going to say what we think you are, then who you're going to talk about wasn't the first. There was one before it. And I totally agree with that. There was one before it. And what I'm getting at is when I would tune on my TV and I would see, let's say, Bakugan, or I would see Beyblade, to an extent, the battles involved in these shows between the characters and the opponents or the antagonists seem very familiar to how the battles in Yu-Gi-Oh! Were presented. Now the Yu-Gi-Oh! Zilks or Zeeks or whatever it's called is very identical to Yu-Gi-Oh! Because it's Yu-Gi-Oh! Period, just different characters. However, when I look at Beyblade and Bakugan, I see two animes, and probably others similar to them, that, they're based on these little toy things, like the Beyblade thing and the Bakugan thing, But the way the characters do their battles, and then they, call out their card, I guess the card or whatever it is, or the Beyblade or the Bakugan, the way they would call it out is very similar to how the characters in Yu-Gi-Oh! Would do it. Now, the difference, first of all, I want to say this, the difference between Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And these Yu-Gi-Oh! Inspired shows is the Pokemon battles were, not as dramatic or intense, if you will. Yeah, they had the co-characters, spitting off exposition on certain characters or certain, cards or beings, abilities, and all that. but they weren't at the level of Yu-Gi-Oh battles. And when you look at Beyblade, when you look at Bakugan and others like that, you see battles that are very Yu-Gi-Oh inspired. And to me, it's like, well, if you're going to take a page out of Yu-Gi-Oh, then why not just put these in the same universe as Yu-Gi-Oh? Why not do crossovers with Yu-Gi-Oh and Beyblade, Yu-Gi-Oh and Bakugan? If you're going to make the battles seem very identical to what you see in Yu-Gi-Oh. I mean, to me, like I said, I get the fact. I get the fact that Pokemon and even to an extent Digimon did it first. I get that. But here though, when you look at the two, or when you look at the differences, the battles that were seen in Yu-Gi-Oh are a lot more dramatic than they were, in basically, like I said, they were a lot more dramatic than what they were, in Pokemon. And you see that inspiration being thrown about, with, things like Bakugan or Beyblade. And like I said, if they wanted to do that, if they wanted to, put it, in that same kind of presentation, then why not just put it in the same universe? Put it in the same world, if you catch my drift. Because if you put it in the same universe, in the same world, you have the potential for crossover if you're going to present the battles being very, in a very identical way. Now, I'm not saying there isn't any differences. There are. But the way, again, the presentations are done, it's like, seriously. What, why not just make them part of the Yu-Gi-Oh universe? Even if you don't own the rights to the toy or whatever it's, the manufacturer or people that created it, created it in the first place, even if you don't own the rights to it. The thing is, to me, if you're going to set it in the same style, you should probably set it in the same world. It's just my opinion. Just my opinion. Because, again, I find it kind of weird that when you look at Bakugan, when you look at Beyblade, and many others like them, the battles, they feel very identical to Yu-Gi-Oh! They really do. The battles in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Franchise. They really do. The way the players are tossed about because of the impact of their creature or their card's powers and abilities, very identical. And like I said, I know people will point out that basically Pokemon and to an extent Digimon did it first, and I'm not denying that, but they didn't do it at the level that you see Yu-Gi-Oh do it, or Yu-Gi-Oh would have done. Yu-Gi-Oh did it. You don't see it being done at that level. You don't see it being, you don't see it being put in that, intensity till later on. And when you look at Bakugan and when you look at Beyblade, it's like you see a Yu-Gi-Oh inspired battles and sometimes stories and all that. I mean, heck, you have some characters that are Bakugan. I think Bakugan or Beyblade players that, on the verge of being sucked into another world. A very shadow-like world, if you catch my drift. So, again, nothing against Pokemon and Digimon doing battles, in their own way, and inspiring, each other and others. But when you compare them to Yu-Gi-Oh battles, there's a huge difference. And when you compare the fact that when you compare their battles to what you see with Beyblade and Bakugan, you can tell who inspired the Beyblade Bakugan battles. It wasn't Pokemon or Digimon, it was Yu-Gi-Oh! You could see it. So, to me, again, if that was going to be the case, why not, even if you don't own the rights to the franchise or whatever it's based on, why not just, put it in the same universe to an extent? That way you open the door for crossovers. I'm just saying. But What do you guys think? Do you think maybe I'm just grasping for straws? Or do you see the similarity in the battle styles that were in Bakugan and Beyblade being identical to what you've seen in Yu-Gi-Oh? Let me know down below, comment during the live chat, like the video, check out the Teespring store, check out me and my BW Roses discussion podcast on all your favorite podcast locations except for Pandora. Also check me out on BW Roses on VENMO, patreon.com/BW Roses, and on Venmo at Brian-Walmart-2. So until next time, guys, let me know what your thoughts are, and I'm out.